Good morning, Illini. Welcome back to another Healthy Illini Podcast episode. And this is actually a really special episode for us today. And whether you started with us from the beginning or you're just joining us now, this is actually our 100th episode of Healthy Illini, and it's really exciting to have that be our milestone today. And so we're going to take a bit of a moment and kind of look back over the path that we've been on, some of the journey, and do a little bit of reminiscing, but also look forward to what comes next. So I'm joined today by Jen Carson. She is the Associate Director of Marketing for Health and Wellbeing Auxiliaries here at the University of Illinois. But more importantly for Healthy Illini, she's the creator, co-creator, but really she was the one who had the vision and started with it. And so Jen, thanks for being here with us.
I'm very excited to be here. Thanks, Matt.
You know, you say that and you're looking at me. If you could see the recording right now, you would see that there's a little bit of stress and angst maybe behind that statement. I've been trying to get you on the program with me for a long time. It only took 100 episodes. So I think I'm going to call you the Cubs baseball of Healthy Illini, where every 100 episodes, you come in and make some noise.
There you go. Plan on it. Plan on it.
But I'm really glad you're on with us today, and I'm really glad to have you be a part of this episode, because we're talking about taking a moment to look back and to reflect on the journey so far. And we started this podcast in August of 2021, and it is now February of 2024, and that means we have 100 episodes over 2.5 years. Woo! But it's 100 episodes, which is a milestone. It means something. It means something to us. It means something to as a podcast. And so we wanted to look at that journey, partly because we are a go society, especially here on campus, and we check things off. We prepare, we study, we learn, we train, and then to get a goal. And then once we get the goal, we move on to the next goal. And sometimes we're really bad, and I'm bad about it myself, about stopping and appreciating the path we came on, the energy that was put into getting there. It's just like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. But there's value, especially in any area of health and wellness, to reflect on where you've been. And so that's kind of what we're doing today as we celebrate this journey. Now, I've been the voice of Healthy Illini from the start. I've been the host. I've been blessed to have been the host through all these episodes. But really, it started with your project and your vision. I was lucky enough to be asked to come on board fairly early. But it was really you who got everything going. So Jen, if you would just share a little bit about what you saw as a need and why you saw the need and an opportunity to have a health and wellness podcast here on campus.
Sure. I've worked in the field of health and wellness for many years, and we know we're fed a lot of health and wellness information from a lot of different mediums, and podcasts being one of them. During the pandemic, podcasts seemed to be growing in popularity among all ages, and this was a platform that McKinley Health Center had not explored before. And so I felt like this could be an opportunity to connect with students on a wide variety of health and wellness topics, particularly some of those that might be a little bit more challenging or difficult for individuals to start conversations about, but also to connect students with resources, whether they were resources here at McKinley Health Center or other resources across campus, which we know there's an abundant source of resources for everyone on campus. And lastly, to provide other perspectives about some of the topics that we discuss, to maybe challenge our listeners, to think about something in a different way or learn something new. And then additionally, just again, we're bombarded with wellness content from so many different sources that aren't always credible and aren't always the correct information. It's really easy to get on Google and type in and think that that's, the end all be all and that's the information that we need to go with. But it was important to us, if we were going to venture on this, doing a podcast, to have guests that were on that were knowledgeable and credible, that could deliver accurate information and share what they knew about the subjects that we were focusing on that were relevant and college focused. So that kind of started the excitement and building the excitement of wanting to create this opportunity.
And I want to mention that, well, I've been the on-air voice, like literally the voice you hear. When we started, we were jumping in blind into a pretty deep pool, trying to figure out, and so much of what Healthy Illini is, as far as our voice, our tone, our format, our path that we've been on, was guided by you. And so I appreciate it. I don't know how much listeners understand that, like producers behind the scenes and things like that direct traffic. And there was so much. I remember our first conversations, how long would we want to be? How do we want to focus? And I was a little bit all over the map because that's kind of who I am. But you really brought some guidance and some stability to it. And so really these 100 episodes have your thumbprint all over them. So as a host, I want to say thank you. As a partner, I want to say thank you, because you're talking about the things that we wanted to do and the way we want to do it. That really was your vision. And that's why we stepped into it. And I was just blessed to come alongside of it. So I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. And we have been blessed to have you in the role that you have been in as our host. And to kind of back up with that, like to kick off the podcast, I felt like it was really important for us to have consistency with an authentic voice that would be somebody that could connect our listeners to our guests, to the topic that was being talked about. And that's where your fabulousness has come in. And so I'm going to flip the script just a little bit to take a moment to be the facilitator for a little bit and guide us through some of your perspective of what you've experienced in your role as our host and in the development and the growth that we have seen since kicking this off in 21. We have been fortunate enough to cover an incredible range of topics here at Healthy Illini. So what are some episodes that you are particularly proud of?
You posed this question to me when we started talking about what we wanted to do for the 100th episode. And I was like, okay, I'll go back and look through my favorites. Okay, 99 episodes I'm looking over, and I'm like, I liked them all. There's not been a single.
But of course we do.
I know. But that's a good thing. But it sounds a little cliche, but it's true that there's not been an episode that I have not enjoyed. So every single one I could talk about an aspect that I really, really liked. But there were some that I was particularly proud of that we did. And two that came to mind immediately were way back at the beginning. We did one on breast cancer. In that first, it was in the first 10 episodes. And then shortly after that, we did a 2-parter on grief. And the reason those were so important to me, and I thought they were so good, was because they were real, they were honest, they were authentic. When we talked about breast cancer, it was a very raw conversation that we had. And I thought, not only was it raw and it was difficult, but I thought really there was a tone of respect, and there was a tone of doing it justice, of talking about a real, very tough topic. And so I was really proud of how that one came out. I was really proud of the grief one for the same reason. It was authentic, but that was shortly after the pandemic. We're coming out. And I remember we talked about in prep and also on the episode that we wanted to talk about grief, but not just grief of losing a loved one, because that's very, very real and very important to talk about, but there's grief of just loss of anything. Coming out of the pandemic, there were so many students that had lost, proms, graduations, parties, hanging out with friends, sporting events.
For sure.
And then there were parents. Like that was my experience. There were parents who lost that for their children. And there was a feeling of, because there was horrific things going on during the pandemic and people were losing their lives, there was a feeling sometimes that it was insincere to feel grief about things that weren't death. But I think it was really important to talk about it and say, no, that's a valid grief. And you have to process through that grief just
Absolutely.
like any other grief.
Sure.
And so those episodes I was really, really proud of. And those were early. I remember that one of the first ones we did was eating disorder. And I came out of that, and we had a student on who talked about their own journey. We didn't use their real name, and we didn't give any identifying features. But I remember coming out of that one going, wow, this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to have these conversations, and it was really powerful. And I remember being really excited after that one, because I was like, we're on the right path. We're going to do, this is going to be something special. So I really enjoyed those.
Well, and having guests that allow themselves to be vulnerable enough to share their stories and, bring forth their experiences and how they navigated those situations or moments in their life have been really special to be a part of. And Narcan was another one.
Yep.
And I Matter, if you want to address either of those.
Well, you hit it exactly in that it was a chance for students to share their stories and a side that you might not know. One of the problems that we see on campus all the time is, and we did one on imposter syndrome, but it is this idea that everyone has it figured out and everybody is polished and ready and they've got a plan and they're going. And that's not true for a vast majority of students. Everybody's figuring out something. And there's moments of doubt and there's moments of insecurity and there's moments of struggle. And, like the I Matter, you had athletes, and everybody puts athletes up on a pedestal because they're incredible athletes, but they still struggle with things and they still deal with things. And I Matter was about the social media side of criticism and things like that. And that was a very insightful one. Narcan, even though it initially started as we wanted to just announce the program of Narcan on campus, of having it available, we had a family come and say, we want to share our story. And that was so powerful because it reinforced the need for it. There's been so many episodes, I go through them, that we've had students come and share their personal journey. And because of that, it's made it that much more impactful, that more powerful, and that much more relatable. And that's really what we were wanting to have. And I think we found that in a lot of our episodes.
Agree. A main hope, we always have here at Healthy Illini is that listeners can learn a little bit about a topic, find the resources either through us or other means. But as a host, you often do research ahead of time with guests. Were there any moments where you learned alongside the guests? And what were some of those?
I like to learn. I in a lot of ways, I'm a jack of all trades, a master of none when it comes to knowledge. Like, I have passing knowledge on a lot of things. But I always feel like I can learn more. And in every episode I learned something, but there were some that really stood out that I was like, oh, I really learned. That was it hit me where I was. And I spent looking back as I was recording the episode, I spent more time learning and listening than I was preparing for the next question, kind of thing. A couple of them, I remember allyship was a huge one, because that's a difficult topic to talk about sometimes, because you don't want to offend and you don't want to say something wrong, but you don't always know what you're saying wrong. And so having that conversation, and I remember we talked about being an ally versus allyship was part of that. And it just changed my perspective on it. And it really helped me understand kind of where I was going. And a couple others, intuitive eating. That was something when we said, let's do one on intuitive eating. And Bree Whitted, one of our dietitians here, she came and said, let's do this. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so that was a really good one for me. I really came from a blank slate on that one. Sleep disorders was really, really insightful, because the difference between insomnia and sleep cycles and things like that. I just learned a lot in those. They really, from a knowledge standpoint, I learned there. The other side of it is I learned a lot about our students. Like learning who people were, was really exciting to me. Like even when they came in, I knew had their prep work. Having that conversation, oftentimes I was like, oh, this is an interesting side, or this is an interesting perspective, and I learned a lot there as well.
Well, and you mentioned like learning from the standpoint of not wanting to offend or making sure that we are, delivering the information properly and respectfully. I think that that's part of what we also try to accomplish on Healthy Illini, is that we try to hit some of those difficult topics that a lot of people may not start those conversations about because of just those things. And so giving them more direction and insight into, some of those subject matters that, are a little more uncomfortable, is what we try to do.
And one thing I learned, as you say that, I just thought one thing I learned was that, and I knew this already, but on a lot of on some of these hot button topics, it can be scary to talk about because you don't want to offend, you don't want to, there's division already and stuff. What I learned was, and talk to people, is that there's a lot more graciousness and a lot more openness to have those conversations, because people want people to learn. Like if it matters to me, I want people to understand it. If it, from the allyship, everybody we talk to is like, we want to have the conversations. We want to have a better understanding of each other and come together. We don't want to separate. And that's one thing I've learned through all of our conversations, is that when it was a scary topic, there was a graciousness and an openness to, hey, come talk to me about it. And I think that was really something that was really important to convey, because if you're listening, you're like, man, I don't know if I can talk to anybody. Oh, I might be able to talk to that person because clearly they want to have the conversation and they're going to be kind about it. And I think that was a huge thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And having those difficult conversations in a meaningful and respectful way is hopefully going to lead to some positive change. So,
yeah, for sure.
All right. It's easy for us to have a lot of fun on this podcast, you especially as our host. Every episode is an adventure and engaging, but looking back over the last 2.5 years, nearly 100 episodes, do you have any favorite moments or memories?
Oh man, that's a tough one to answer, because again, I love everything we've gotten to do. I'm so blessed to have been in this position, and it's just a lot of fun. I'm busy in my regular job, and there's days where I'm just tired.
What?
But I come in and I sit down here. I'm like, oh man, okay, here we go, another episode. As soon as we start recording, I start talking to somebody. I get that second wind, that energy, and it's feeding off the people I get to talk to. And so, really, my favorite memories are the people I've gotten to talk to, and just hearing their passion for what they do. Every professional we brought in has been passionate about their topic. And it seems like the time flies because it's so engaging. I've really enjoyed.
It is so cool. Yeah.
It is. It's so much fun to hear them get excited. And we have so many guests that came in that have never done a podcast or are very nervous about a podcast. And then they sit down afterwards like, oh,
I don't know what they're talking about.
After they're done, they're like, well, that was easy. And it's because, you're talking about what you love. We talking with the student affairs leadership, no matter what unit it is. Dr. Danita Brown-Young, has been on the podcast a couple times. She's been great. One of the coolest ones and most nerve-wracking for me was Chancellor Jones. When we recorded with him, that was a lot of fun, but that was a little intimidating. I won't lie.
And that one was with both of them talking about kind of a campus wellness initiative. So that was cool.
And it was cool to see that side of them because, you see the name Chancellor Jones, and you see press conferences and things like that. But that candid conversation that happened, he was very, very easy to talk to and very engaging. It was a lot of fun. So those are the fun. But really, honestly, my favorite moments, 99% of them.
It's working with me.
It is working with you. It is working with you for sure. But my favorite moments come down to the students we have. The students that we have worked with. Some of my favorite ones in the beginning were students take over, which we had Ryan LaShock, Joanna, Emma, when they came in and kind of gave their perspective, because they were here at the beginning. They were jumping in with us too, and they had no idea. They've all moved on now in their college careers, which we would love to keep them forever, but we were happy to see them succeed. And now we have Byron and Chloe, and I know I'm forgetting others. If you can fill in the blanks.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Nate Wallander. He did the design for our album cover. So.
We've had a lot of students that have come through and helped us in various ways, and they give their own perspective, their own uniqueness, and their talents, the things they do that, like I love to talk, but I'm not editing anything. I'm not good at that. We've had fantastic videographers who have helped us edit things. And so that, talking with the students is really my favorites. We've had students come in talking about finals prep, talking about how to study, peer to peer, and it's just every student has been really interesting. The athletes we've had brought in, and we've talked to them in different ways. We don't talk to them about their sport very often. It's been aspects alongside of their sport. So that's been really cool. And I'm a huge sports fan anyway, so it's been really fun for me to have that part. I remember we did one in the early where we did quad questions. And we went around, and Ryan and Joanna were part of that, I believe.
Yeah.
They went and just went on the quad and just asked questions. Yeah. And then we answered from that. But having those student perspectives, we try to have students. This is about. We try to have students on every episode. And sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes it's not appropriate, depending on the topic we're talking about. But we try and have students on every episode we do. And those are really the fun, because seeing these brilliant, talented, raw, learning young adults who come in and just really have that energy and have that passion that's just it's addictive. It's contagious, it's addictive. And so those are the ones. Really, those are my favorite moments and memories. And I literally go back through every episode and give you at least one moment from each one and say, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, I remember this. And the students who come in, it's always fun. And sometimes afterward, you and I have a conversation afterwards, like, wow, that was really good. Because we have a student who comes in who we know nothing about. And then they get on air. It's like, they were really good. They were very dynamic and informed. And so those are the things that I really look back at. And I'm like, that's just a lot of fun. That's really where the energy comes from, to keep going and do another 100, hopefully. Because it's just our guests have really brought so much to the table. And without that energy, it would have been a struggle. But from the get-go, we've just had fantastic guests, and that's really where it's at.
Completely agree. And students being big drivers, behind all that too. And with that said, if there's topics that you're interested in us addressing on Healthy Illini, we want to hear about them. Reach out to us, let us know. And, if there's topics that you're interested in being a part of those conversations too, again, reach out to us and let us know. As always, at the end of our episodes, we always try to direct you to resources that are available, which we will certainly do for this one as well. But yeah, let us know what you're thinking, and if there are topics, areas of interest that you think we could deliver here on Healthy Illini, we want to know about them.
We say it with every episode. Wow, the time went fast. And we try and keep them short so it's easy to digest or easy to listen to between classes or whatever. So before we close, I just want to say thank you again, Jen. I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the vision. I appreciate the creativity and the flexibility that you've allowed, that you bring to the table. And really, even though, like I said, I've been the host for all 100, this doesn't happen without you behind the scenes. And so I just really want to say thank you. We are so blessed to have you here with us in McKinley, on campus at UIUC. But especially, I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity to work with you so far, and I look forward to what's coming next. We got some topics coming.
Well, thank you, and ditto back. Like, it has been amazing. I cannot believe that we are hitting 100 episodes. That is just, woo! Wow. Pretty awesome, and to have done it with you has been really exciting and rewarding for me too. So thank you. It has been my pleasure. And as a kind of close, we're talking about the past, but in the future, keep looking, because we're working on episodes right now. We've got a whole slew coming in the spring of new things, of new directions we want to go, and open some new doors and some new collaborations. We really didn't talk about that much, but the collaborations we've been able to have on campus, the way it's grown from the beginning has been. In the beginning, it was mostly in-house because we were still trying to figure out who we were. But in the last year, especially, the way we've been able to partner with a lot of units and people on campus and in the community has been really exciting. So we got some good stuff coming. So stick with us as we look forward to our next 100 episodes. If you've been with us on the journey, we appreciate you. I want to say thank you to you as well. All of our listeners who have stuck with us from the beginning, the ones who are coming new into the fold, we appreciate you. We value each of you. We know that you have lots of options. You have lots of things going on in your life. And if you take the time to listen to me talk to somebody, I don't take that lightly. So thank you so much. If you have comments, we want, if you have ideas on episodes, like Jen said, if you have ideas on topics, let us know. But if you just have feedback, if you like what we're doing, if you think there's somewhere we could improve, let us know. We want to have those conversations. That's what Healthy Illini is all about. So please reach out to us. You can get us at Healthy Illini. You can contact us at McKinley Health Center. You can look me up on campus email if you have that. But please let us know. We want to know what you think. We want to engage with you, because that's what this is all about, is having conversations with people wherever they're at. But thank you for joining us today. You are on a personal journey, no matter where you are in it. You are important and you matter. Your health and wellness are important and matter, and we're here to keep you well to excel. So go have a great week, Illini. Let us know how you're doing, and we'll catch you next time on Healthy Illini.